It's strange how an ordinary afternoon can quietly turn into something no one is prepared for. One minute, a 6-year-old girl is stepping off her school bus, her backpack bouncing against her shoulders, maybe thinking about snacks or what game she's going to play. And the next minute, she's gone. No scream, no crash, no sign that anything was wrong. Just a kind of silence that doesn't feel normal. What makes this even harder to process is this: the person responsible wasn't some mysterious stranger passing through town. He lived right next door. This is the true story of Faye Marie Swetlick, a little girl whose life ended far too soon, and a neighborhood that would never feel quite the same again. On February 10th, 2020, in Casey, South Carolina, it felt like any other school day. The kind of day you don't even think twice about. Kids getting off buses, parents finishing work, the late afternoon lights settling gently over the street. Faye was 6 years old. She loved pink, she loved being outside, she had that natural curiosity that 6-year-olds have, always wanting to explore, always asking questions. When she stepped off her bus that afternoon, nothing seemed unusual. She walked home. She went inside. She asked her mom if she could go play outside, and her mom said yes. It was such a normal moment, the kind of moment that happens every single day in homes everywhere. No one could have known that it would become the last ordinary decision of their lives. At first, everything felt fine. It was still daylight, neighbors were around, cars passed by. This was a small community, the kind where people wave when they drive past each other. But after a little while, Faye wasn't answering. Her mom called her name. Nothing. She stepped outside and looked around the yard. No sign of her. That's when that subtle shift happens, when concern turns into something heavier, something harder to ignore. Minutes stretch longer than they should. Your heart starts beating faster. You call again. Still nothing. And then that quiet fear starts to settle in, the kind every parent hopes they'll never feel. She called 911, and from that point on, life before that call and life after that call were two completely different worlds. A 6-year-old doesn't just disappear in the middle of the afternoon, not without someone seeing something, not without a sound. So the question became simple and terrifying. Who saw her? And if someone did, why didn't they stop it? Police arrived quickly. Neighbors poured out of their homes. Some were still in work clothes. Some brought flashlights even though it wasn't dark yet. Search teams moved through the streets, the nearby woods, the yards. Helicopters circled overhead. You can imagine the sound, blades cutting through the air while voices called out her name. Everyone believed the same thing. She has to be close, because how could a child vanish like that in a place that felt so safe? But afternoon turned into evening, evening turned into night. Porch lights stayed on longer than usual, and still nothing. Flyers went up, the FBI joined the search. The whole community felt suspended in time. And here's what makes this story even chilling. The man who would later become central to the investigation was outside during those searches. He spoke to neighbors, he watched, he blended in. He lived just a few doors away. Sometimes we picture danger as something obvious, a stranger, a threat you can see coming. But sometimes it looks normal. Sometimes it's the person you pass on the sidewalk, the one who doesn't stand out at all. 2 days later, investigators found something small, not dramatic, not obvious, just a piece of evidence in a neighbor's trash can. But small things matter, and that small discovery started connecting pieces. It led them to 30-year-old Cody Scott Taylor, who lived less than 200 feet from Faye's home. At first, he wasn't seen as suspicious. He had spoken with officers. He didn't appear nervous. There was nothing that immediately set off alarms. But evidence has a way of quietly pointing in one direction, and that direction led back to him. Soon after, authorities made a devastating discovery. Faye's body was found in a wooded area near her home. Not far away, not in another city, right there. Close enough that people searching for her had been nearby. When the news spread, the shock was overwhelming. She had been so close. The autopsy later confirmed she died from asphyxiation not long after she was taken. 6 years old. Her life ended within hours of what had started as a normal school day. When authorities moved in on Taylor, he took his own life before he could be formally charged. There would be no trial, no courtroom testimony, no full explanation. For the family, that kind of silence can feel unbearable. Sometimes not having answers is harder than facing them. In the days that followed, Casey changed. Pink and purple ribbons appeared everywhere, her favorite colors. Vigils were held. Candles flickered in the dark. People who barely knew each other stood shoulder to shoulder. Parents held their children a little tighter, because something had shifted. If something like this could happen in a place that felt this safe, then safety itself suddenly felt fragile. This wasn't just about crime, it was about trust, about how we assume the world around us is predictable, and how sometimes it isn't. But here's what stays with you the most. There was no dramatic chase, no stranger lurking in shadows, just a moment, a small window of time, and someone who lived right next door. That's the part that lingers. Faye Marie Swetlick deserves to be remembered for more than the tragedy. She was a little girl who loved playing outside, a daughter who trusted the world around her, a child who stepped off a school bus expecting another ordinary day. Her story is heartbreaking, there's no way around that. But it's also a reminder to check in on each other, to stay aware, to protect what matters most. And beyond the fear, beyond the headlines, there is still something stronger. There is love. The love her family carries forward. The love a community showed in its darkest moment. The love that keeps her name alive. One man chose darkness, but an entire community chose to remember her light. And sometimes remembering, truly remembering, is the only justice that remains.